Blog Talk Radio. Today is Saturday, October 21st, 2017, and this is Foxology. I am Silver Ray Fox, your host. Happy Saturday to you all, and thank you for taking the time to tune in today, or if you are listening later to the podcast, thank you so much for doing that as well. Well, I hope it's a great day in your life and in your neighborhood, whether it's sunshine or rain, sunny or cold. You know, sometimes we base our attitudes on the weather. I don't know if that's a good thing, but it happens. The weather, though, is changing right now everywhere because it's that time of year. We're 1 month into fall. Can you believe that? 2 months away from the official start of winter. And I'll tell you what, isn't that interesting, depending on where you are in the world? Those dates may have some impact of evidence or none at all. Some of us will never see winter as I know it, with all the snow and freezing cold. Oh, boy, do I not love that. Or the colorful signs that are often the beauty of fall. I do love that. But there is something happening on a bigger front, whether we see the obvious signs or not. Most of us do. The seasons change, at least according to the calendar, and we go with the weather flow wherever it is we are. And as I was saying, it's very much the same with us in the world and nation right now. I think it's safe to say that we're feeling the heat of an unusual political climate right now. Most days it seems kind of challenging to find shade because of the intensity of things. So I guess like we do on any really, really, really hot day, we sweat, unfortunately, trying to find a cool place to rest from it if we can. My guest today is a prominent businessman, political scientist, and CEO of the Center for Economic Policy and Development. He is astute on political issues and affairs, and today he's going to talk with me and share some of his expert insights on the topic that I've entitled Our Political Climate, Can We Turn Down the Heat? I think it's a very fair question, and we are certainly going to do as much talking as we can about it in just a few 20 or 25 minutes. Mr. Ellison, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am delighted to be able to talk to you about it for several reasons. You do have a very broad background and great and deep interest in that whole area of politics, and so I'm glad to have you discuss your thoughts and feelings and expertise. And I know that there are many perspectives. We're not trying to make it seem like by any means that this Foxology episode is going to tell how everybody feels, but what I look for is a fairness in discussion and ideas that are being shared, and I felt very strongly that you would be able to do that. So what I'm going to do first is ask you about your Center for Economic Policy and Development, and let's talk about what that does, and then we're going to flip the script and talk about some of the things that are going on in our political arenas right now. So tell us about the center.
Absolutely. I started the center back in 2012. It was an organization that myself and a few other gentlemen came up with to bring about change in some of the rural parts of the communities in Florida, as well as some of the other states around the country. What we've learned is that in areas, the opportunities for access is simply not there, and so we wanted to try to even the playing field. So we came up with the Center for Economic and Policy Development as a way to help certain disadvantaged groups to get engaged in business opportunities. We work with organizations to help them solidify their 501c3 statuses. We hold conferences and seminars on how to do business with the state, federal, or local government. We created a Emerging Leaders program that allows us to mentor young, bright minds and help connect them to opportunities within the arenas of science, medicine, law, government, politics, and basically just trying to do our part in helping to bridge the gap between the opportunities, and opportunities are very, small. And so, just like I said, just doing our part to make a difference.
Well, it certainly seems like you carved out an area that you're making a big difference in, and it's very commendable. Thank you for sharing that. I want to go ahead and get this conversation going about our political climate and tone right now. It's interesting. It's unusual. There are a lot of other terms that I'm sure other people would would apply to it that wouldn't be quite as nice as far as describing what's going on. I want to ask you a broad question, and you can narrow it down however you like. It's interesting as I watch other really well-known politicians on TV and on social media with an entirely different kind of perspective than the general public. And when I say that, I can tell their dialogue, the things that they express are from a whole other area of knowing things that are going on. Of course, that would make sense. Most of us don't have that very rich political background that they can use to analyze things. So I'm going to ask you, from your experience, from just you being engaged, you seeing what's going on, what is happening? What is happening? I mean, we know we have a new president, and but day to day there seems to be no real sense of stabilizing how Americans or need to think, or what we need to do. Our attitudes are being pushed all over the place with what's going on. Tell us from your perspective what's happening.
Well, let me just start from the top and then work my way down. The office of the president represents a strong centralized power, and with that power comes the responsibility to propagate the foundations of American affinity. And so that's a great starting point right there. When I was in undergraduate school studying political science, concept called the elite theory, and the elite theory suggests that you have people in business who make their ways to the top of the top, and then they reach a point where the only other place to go is to get into politics so that they can leverage their positions in their political offices to further their business interests. Okay? And so what we have is that whenever you have people who are very wealthy, who made a great deal of money in the business arena, they have enough clout, enough resources to overtake potential change agents or social engineers, people who can really make a difference, and people who really should be in those offices because they can campaign them through their financial resources. And so what you have is you have these people who end up in positions of power that are really not of the mindset of bringing about positive change for the country and for the people, that their whole goal and their whole aim of being there is to simply continue making more money for their own organizations and things of that nature. And so, what I try to do is I try to help people to understand how to identify who will be actually in these positions to look out for the betterment of the people. And it's simple. You should never look at a politician and choose that politician based on what they say they're going to do. You should always look at the history of that politician and look at what they've been doing. So if a person was making money and that's all they were doing for themselves, a leopard doesn't change its spots. When they get in positions of power, when they get in positions of leadership within governmental roles, they're going to continue to do what they have always done. If there were individuals who were grassroots leaders, who were change agents, making or bringing about the kinds of policy then when they get into office, you can expect more of that. And so rather than, voting for someone based on them telling you they're going to make this place a better place or make the country great again, we should really look at what have they been doing before they decided to run. Were they helping people? Were they fighting for injustices? Were they there representing the have-nots? Or were they simply just making money? And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's very easy to see how the elite theory plays out over and over again. The only sad thing is that the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. And when you look at our government, it's reflecting that. When I say government, I mean government in terms of leadership roles. It's reflecting the elite theory all day long. But we can change that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very interested in you sharing with us how you feel that can be changed. Let me just say some things to Donald Trump, and I am not going to say what I'm going to say with any bit of animosity. I'm trying again just to say whatever I do or whatever we talk about in regard to him. And thank you for that awesome explanation that you just gave, because I'm not looking. I don't think that. Me bashing him holds any weight at all. I can say truly I'm very disappointed. I roll back the time and I think about Donald Trump prior to any actual political entrance into what's going on. And he was a businessman, he was a celebrity entertainer, all of that. I found him to be very interesting, like a lot of people. We watched Celebrity Apprentice and all of that. That was fun. I followed him and his wife on social media because I thought they were interesting. I liked her whole fashion thing. Once this all became such a hard reality, what's happening now, I dropped that because I thought, you know what? And I remember seeing Nene Leakes saying, I don't know who that man is now. I think she said that orange man is now, because a lot of us saw him as a very fun entertainer to watch, celebrity to watch. I think he totally stepped out of his lane. That's really obvious. Whether he was doing good business or bad business, and a lot of it was bad. I bought the book that he wrote with Robert Kiyosaki, Why We Want You to Be Rich. I even became a part of his multi-level marketing program before I found out that was all jacked up too. So I think what I'm saying is that a lot of us found things that he was doing kind of really need to be a part of. Watch. This whole thing that he has tried to do is like, trying to watch a fish climb a tree. It's not his thing. And I really thought that he would be intelligent enough to realize that it isn't. Instead, he surrounded himself with people who barely know, in my opinion, how to truly help him. I don't know if he can be helped. It's not his thing. I know if it were me, it's not, and this is, just a 2 cents. I would wind it up. I would just say, look, I can't do this. I was doing really, really, really well in business, loved my very wealthy life, and that's what I would do. He has absolutely no clue how the rest of the world lives. Zero, nada, nothing. He understands what you just described as elite. Well, that's the way he's lived his entire life. I think it is a challenge for him to truly embrace at any level what the rest of life is like for any of us. Does that make him a bad person? No, because he's not in a category all by himself with that. But being a leader, of a powerful country and that's trying to, go by the seat of your pants is a huge mistake. And I think it's making him look so bad. And I think that when you have so many yes people around you telling you that we can get you through this, we can make it work, and blah, 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 it's making everybody panic, and it's making everybody uncomfortable, and it's just not a good look. And I know there's got to be people who are telling him that, but he's just at that level of the, I'm in this power, I'm going to run with it, do what you just described in your explanation, and maybe his theory is like the way his multi-level marketing plan just kind of, the fuse went out. Maybe he's just going to wait till the fuse runs out with this too. I don't know. I just know many of us thought of him. Maybe some of us, even for a split second, thought, maybe he can bring business into politics and make it work, but it doesn't. You can't. There may be certain mechanisms within the country that, of course, have to be run like a business, but then you got these millions and millions of people whose lives are depending on what leadership does, and right now, for the most part, it's just a major shakeup. So I had to get that out before we move on with the conversation. So with what you just said, what I just said, tell us, when you say change can happen, where and how do you see that taking place?
Well, I'll tell you, the interesting thing about the climate of this country, and you can see it play out in the 2016 elections, is that right now we are in a state where people are looking for something different. They're looking for something new, and they are really tired of these career politicians, because as long as people have been around, as long as these career politicians have been around, most people can't feel the policies that have gone forth. And if they can feel them, they feel them in a very negative way. So Donald Trump is a recipient of people looking to put someone in office that is not a career politician. And so one of the things that I must push for is education on how to determine if a person should be in a leadership role from the standpoint of citizens voting for them. And so I travel around the country doing speaking engagements, and I speak to different, colleges, and I put out posts. And basically, my platform is really to just educate people. Government works and how they fall into the issues and how policy affects them, and basically help them to understand why they're in one party or another. Because I found that most people are usually in a certain party because, it's the party of their families, or most people are in a party because they identify with certain social issues. And so I try to help them to understand, what created the parties, why the parties exist. And I've been very, I've had very positive effects on how people start to move from one point to the next based on simply knowledge. When I graduated from political science back in 2006, out of about 3,000 graduates, I was the only political science major. But I've seen people go from little interest to politics, little interest to government, to a lot of interest, especially after President Barack Obama ran in 2008. A lot of people just started to become very interested. Now it's a topic that everyone's talking about. You can see it on Facebook and this and that. But we have to start to get the real information out. And as a political scientist, I'm in a very good position to help people better understand these concepts, like we talked about earlier, business and politics. As a political scientist and a corporate development professional, I've had a chance to see both sides of those equations. And the thing of it is that there's a large consensus that business leaders can go into government and do great things, and sometimes they can. But the thing of it is that government is really not like for-profit business. If anything, government is more associated to a nonprofit than it is a for-profit. tell you why. When you go back to the beginning of our country and it's coming into an existence, we basically won the American Revolution, and we were taking tax dollars to fund the war effort. But once the war was over, tax dollars were still coming from citizens into the government. And then there was a group of people that said, you know what, we should take some of these tax dollars and put it into social programs to help the people. And then you had some people saying we should just keep funding the defense, and just in case we are under attack again. And those two thoughts is what created the party system. So I'm of this mindset. We have to have a strong defense, but we also have to have social programs, and that's the trade-off, because if you're going to tax the citizens, then you need to be able to give them something in return for taxing them. So it's the original concept of serve and protect. You got to have both. And so whenever you have people this day and time not understand that that's actually what created the party system, and that's what determines if you're a liberal versus a conservative, then you're going to fall a lot of times as a victim to politicians who use social issues to divide people. So the goal shouldn't ever be to divide people. It should be to find the common threads that unites us together. And those are the threads of love, unity, peace, trying to figure out where you stand on abortion or where you stand on gay rights and all of these different types of things. These issues were not even issues when the party systems were created. And so it's about educating people. It's about bringing them the real knowledge of how our government works, bringing them the real knowledge of, how politicians use issues to generate support, to generate donations. And once they can start seeing it for what it really is, then the light comes on and can better decisions. And once they start making better decisions at polls, then they will have better leadership and not just somebody who's up there trying to get over like, Halliburton and all those kind of scenarios where you get into policy and politics. And
let me interrupt you. We have a caller. I'm going to check and see if they're just listening or if they have a question for you. Can you just give me a second here?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, caller. Did you have a question for Mr. Ellison?
Well, yes, I do. And I'm an African-American who's a Donald Trump supporter and vote for him. I voted for him because of the issues. And business people can go on into the political realm, take care of the issue, and they usually come out. They should come out. But then you got those who stand there forever. But I wonder if he recognized that there's things that the federal government is not supposed to be involved in. And one of the big issues at hand is this insurance. And that the United States as a area technically is divided up into about 11 different nations. As an example, the people in the northeast corner, Vermont and Maine, have different opinions about death penalty than the people in Florida. The people in Washington State has different opinions about the environment than the people in Mississippi. And I think many times that's not taken in account, especially like when we talk about police brutality. But I wonder what's your opinion
before you go.
Yes.
His opinion on what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask his
go ahead
opinion
and get your question
on about the country being divided and that everyone is not the same. All blacks are not the same. All Nigerians, whites, Mexicans are not the same. They have different opinions, and a lot of times those opinions, ideas are based on the environment that they're either living in or, in particular, they grew up in.
Thank you very much for that question.
Yeah, I agree. We are very diverse in this country, and that's the thing. When you live in a very diverse country, it's really, really beneficial when you have someone who comes from an environment who can understand that diversity and someone who can pull people together based on those common threads of unity. Because when you start pitting people against one another based on differences, that's when you end up with the kind of climate that we have in this country. And so, when you look at like what the gentleman was saying, every state has a different ideology about how they want to do different things. The real answer to that is it is very complex. But at the same time, we have had governments before the constitutional government that we have today. We've had three different ones, actually. The First Continental Congress, the Second Continental Congress, the Confederation Congress, and all three of those governments gave more authority to the states to do what they want to do. But the problem with that is, and the problem with that is that in the face of a foreign attack, foreign rule, it limits our power. So that's why we got rid of those forms of government and ended up with the constitutional government that we have now, which is the oldest in the world. And it allows for the government to become flexible. Of course, it's slow with deliberate speed, but it's flexible. We can do amendments. It's just a matter of getting people on the same page about things that benefit the country as a whole.
Okay. Again, sir, I want to thank you for listening very much, and thank you for calling as well. I'm going to have to wrap. We only have about 3 minutes left, and I have one more question for Mr. Ellison. Keep listening, okay?
Sure.
Mr. Ellison, one question. Thank you so much for all of your insight today. I'm feeling like we are definitely going to have to continue this conversation on another show. Wish I had more time, but the computer will shut us down in 3 minutes. But I wanted to ask you something, and I just need you to take a minute or two to share a broad thought. But do we have any real fear of the immediate future with a lot of the things that are going on? I heard Condoleezza Rice talking the other day, and it was kind of, I don't know, hit my gut that she said something that I was thinking when she mentioned Kim Jong-un, and she said, that worries me. So do we have any fear of the immediate future in your opinion?
This is my personal belief. We have the most powerful military in the world. We have the most powerful military in the world's history. And we have mechanisms that can protect our country from nuclear weapons coming from abroad. Okay, we have an anti-ballistic missile systems that can pretty much shoot down things that are coming from across the seas. But that's not the real threat. We have allies in places around North Korea that we can't protect like that. Japan, South Korea. We have to tone down the North Korean leader, because although we're safe from an attack like that, our allies are not safe. And so I do believe that President Trump is provoking this gentleman. I think that he's undermining his Secretary of State and all of the other people that are on the team to try to negotiate for, some peace talks. I really believe he wants to go to war. I just saw today where he's basically calling back about 1,000 servicemen from retirement into the Air Force. And so that is a clear indication that we're gearing up for war. And not only that, just the rhetoric. The rhetoric. I saw today we have about 3 attacks from white supremacist groups in California. Yes, in Gainesville there was an attack with the alt-right group at the University of Florida. These people have become emboldened under this president. His language, his talk is not one that's bringing people. It's bringing out the worst in people.
And everybody. And I'm going to have to stop you, and I'm so sorry about that, but we're literally down to just a few seconds. I want to thank you. I'm going to ask you to join me again real soon. I'm really down to a few seconds, but this has been brilliant on your part, and I appreciate you being my guest today, and we will set something up again sooner than later to finish this conversation. Thank all of you for listening today. Again, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. In the meantime, until the next time, be good, be blessed, be informed, be awesome.